Welcome to the NAO show. We have a special show for you tonight. We are doing the 2021 NAO Awards. That's why I'm all pizzazzed up. I got my coat on. Everybody's looking nice. Avon showed up again, the champ. Where's the
Two for
trophy?
two. Oh, I got it. Hold on. Let me see if I can get
Get it! TikTok. Let's see those arms, baby.
The trophy and the gun show.
Oh, all
There we
right.
go.
Here we go.
There we go.
Yeah,
Nice.
look at that.
Hey. I just want to start the show by telling everyone that Humpty, Swamp Dick himself, voted for Mike's Arms for Flex of the Year. Bum, bum, bum.
Jokes on everybody. That was a trick question, and only Humpy got it right. So
That's right. It's a trick question that Humpty only got it right. He was probably high as hell when he did it, but that's okay. We still accept him. Well, tonight we're going to go through all of our 3 categories with a special category like every year. I can't wait for that one. Mark, take over.
All right, man. Let's start off with the most valuable player for the NAO League, Fantasy League. Got my envelope here.
Is it Rex Burkhead?
Yeah.
fuck that guy.
Barrios?
Braxton Berrios.
Fuck that guy too.
They really should have gotten it. They really should have.
Honorable
But
mention.
it is Cooper Cup.
He's on my team. He's on my
Big
team.
surprise there.
Hey, Mike,
Anyways,
would you like to say a couple things on a part of your Cooper Cup?
on behalf.
He's the best. It's absolutely true. I hope it was just a straight unanimous vote.
Yeah, how'd the votes go there, Mark?
It was not. There were 3 votes for Jonathan Taylor.
Who were they? Let's berate them right now, because that was the most open, closed category of all 4 of these.
Well,
Yeah.
Ian, for sure.
In fairness, Taylor was probably could have been considered, but I really liked his work in the playoffs. Oh wait, that kind of knocked him out for me.
Hey! I was about to jump on you and say that you voted for JT.
No, I voted for Cup, but Taylor. I mean, obviously to do what he did as a running back, but they didn't make the playoffs, so it's not very valuable.
Well, he certainly carried the team, that roster, through the year. So I mean, you got to give him some credit there. But yeah, Cup was the guy. I mean, you can't deny one of the best seasons of all time for sure.
Well, there was a stat after he got Super Bowl MVP that like only Jerry Rice has ever had the career of Triple Crown, Super Bowl MVP, or something. All these things, and Cooper Kupp did it in one season.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. Yeah, good on him, man.
Another season that came close for Cooper Kupp was in 2019, where he was 6th in standard fantasy and 5th in PPR. But this year, blew that out of the water.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. All right, let's move on to Rookie of the Year. Nominees were. I didn't give the nominees on the last one, man. I'm losing it here, man.
It's okay. We've accepted you.
Yeah. All right, I'll do that from here on. So, nominees for Rookie of the Year were Najee Harris, Mac Jones, Jamar Chase, and Kyle Pitts. Let's see. Which would open this?
Right answer for this category also.
The winner is Jamar Chase. Another big surprise. Another big surprise.
Whoa.
Wow.
This should be, just so I'm on the record and I'm consistent for our fan base, this should be year 2 for LSU wide receivers, but Justin Jefferson got hosed year 1. But, Mark, Jamar Chase is your guy. Would you like to say a couple words?
Well, there was a little bit of a push in the early voting for Najee Harris. He did get 3 votes, but it pretty much from there it went downhill for the Najee camp, and Chase ended up with 7 votes. So pretty clear cut winner there. We made sure that we didn't have another travesty like last year, so we wouldn't have another NAO host going off every once in a while about Rookie of the Year.
I think the real question is, do I have an argument from now
No.
moving forward?
Moving
All
on.
right,
Moving on.
moving on.
Yeah, no surprise there, I don't think. Najee had a good year. The other two nominees had good years for rookies, but yeah, Chase was, I think, the clear-cut guy. Hard to.
What I liked
I mean,
about
and he
this
beat.
category was that we had somebody from each position, which was kind of cool.
Yeah, that was kind of cool.
Tight end, wide receiver, running back.
That was
Pretty
kind
nice.
of cool.
That just shows the strength of that draft.
Yeah, but Jamar beat. Jefferson had the all-time best rookie season, and Jamar beat it 1 year later. So, kind of had to go with him, I think.
For the 3 people that did not pick Chase, y'all are crazy. I bet y'all picked frickin' JT too.
Same 3 guys.
Yeah. But
Maybe the same 3 guys. Yeah, might have been. All right, let's move on to the most valuable flex of the year.
Before we get into the nominations, I think this category was by far the hardest category to actually pick somebody for. The first 2, clear cut for me, very simple. The 4th one, very, very simple for me. But this one was it was difficult to actually figure out which one was a true flex player. For me, Waddle was not a flex player, but he fit our standard as flex. But I really think this one could go either way. What do you guys think?
You're excited to hear the results, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
Now, this was definitely close. What do you guys think? It was a tough one. All good players, I think. For the flex,
I only remember 2 of them.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I only remember 2 of them.
Oh yeah, I didn't give the nominees yet because Sean talked so long that I forgot to give the nominees.
I'm excited.
All right, the nominees were Damian Harris,
Oh.
Jalen Waddle, DJ Moore, and Cordarrelle Patterson. Winner is
Not Damon Harris. Not Damon Harris.
Not Slytherin. Not Slytherin.
Not Slytherin.
Cordarrelle Patterson.
Nice.
What?
Mm-hmm. True flex player.
Golly. You got to do the vote breakdown for this one there, Marky Mark.
All right, well, it was pretty clear cut for Patterson. We did get 1 vote each for Harris, Waddle, and DJ Moore, but Cordarrelle got 6 votes with 1 write-in, which is ironic. Pittman was a write-in vote by 1 person, and ironic that we had thought about putting Pittman in that category.
Yeah.
That was
in the conversation.
Absolutely was.
So someone was definitely on the same page with us as far as candidates, and so Pittman got it right in there.
I think
yeah,
Waddle took his place, actually, didn't he?
I think Cordarrelle's a good one because it was pretty much unexpected, and he definitely carried Goofy there for a little while. Goofy had some things go wrong in other areas, but after losing JK and being able to put Cordell, I'm sorry, I say it different ways, different times. Cordarrelle Patterson in the flex, that was a lot of points coming to him that he wasn't expecting. Made up some of that for the injuries that he had.
Well, he's kind of like an actual flex. He could either be a wide receiver or running back. So I guess it was kind of the writing was on the wall.
Yeah, I think he was the consensus for sure. But and I think that's probably what a lot of people are thinking was that. Yeah, he's kind of the definition of this category, I think.
Yeah, and part of the reason I voted for him was not only because I played against him and it was frustrating to watch him put up that many points, but he was truly, like, with all of our rosters and all of our benches as deep as they were, this offseason, he was a free agent. Like somebody literally just picked him up. It wasn't even a waiver situation, and he sat there for a while. So I mean, to me, that's the definition of getting incredible value on a player that you just kind of picked up off the street. I mean, obviously, had a. I don't know if he can do it again, but he did it well for this year.
Well, I'll go on the record to say that I did not vote for my guy. I did not vote for Waddle. I actually voted for DJ Moore as the flex candidate.
Oh, that's
That
cute because
guy-
I voted for Waddle.
What's that? You voted for Waddle?
Aw.
That's so cute.
Aren't we the cutest? I think if DJ Moore actually gets a quarterback that isn't freaking garbage, he could be wide receiver 1. Easy. I like
Yeah.
those things about Waddle now.
I liked Waddle for the targets. It was, that was to me, that's a guy you put in your flex. You don't worry about it. You know what you're gonna get, and that's all you need.
It was a tough category. I like the winner in that category though. I thought that was pretty cool. I didn't have a favorite going into it, but once I saw the votes coming in, I thought that was pretty cool. I thought that was spot
I'm
on.
actually pretty shocked it was him. But like now that we've talked about it, I'm like, yeah, I can get on board with that. I could easily
Makes a
way
lot of
that way.
sense. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. All right, we got one more category. This was the #1 song on the road trip mixtape for Humpty and Ian. All right, let's see. I wrote down here one word to tell me what song it is. So I got to try to remember the whole title here. See how sharp my brain is today. All right, so it was "Wind Beneath My Wings" Bette Midler. "My Heart Will Go On" from Celine Dion. "I Would Do Anything for Love, But I Won't Do That" by Meatloaf. And "All I Want to Do" is
actually Meatloaf.
the lead singer for Meatloaf. "All I Want to Do Is Make Love to You" by Heart. So, okay. The winner is. Got envelope here.
Come on. Is that a Verizon bill?
"My Heart Will Go On" by Celine Dion. Hey, that rhymes. Pretty cool.
Fan fucking tastic.
So this one was it was neck and neck, and actually it was Aaron's vote that came in today that broke the tie, but there was a lot of love for "I Would Do Anything for Love, But I Won't Do That." There was one vote for "The Wind Beneath My Wings," and I don't think anybody had the stomach to vote for "All I Want to Do Is Make Love to You." Just a little too much.
Too
man.
on
A
the
little too
nose, apparently.
We did have- What's that?
What's that?
Oh, I thought you said something. My apologies.
We did have one write-in by one of the men involved. Ian wrote in 500 Miles by the Proclaimers, which I was going to give him a hard time for not following the rules and doing a write-in thing. But then if it's a reference to How I Met Your Mother and the road trip they had where that's the only song that played, I thought, okay, well that's pretty cool. I'll give him that one, So that was his write-in. I don't think he wasn't into the lovey-dovey stuff there.
I think everyone on this show tonight is shocked that Ian came up with his own rules to a very simple thing.
Yeah, he had one job, right?
Only thing you can bet on is him not doing exactly what you think he's going to do.
Or following the rules.
Or following the rules.
Yeah, we saw that this week, didn't we?
They're not rules, they're
Did you have to go in
guidelines.
depth on that?
Good point, Aaron. For him, they're guidelines. What was your comment, Sean?
Would you like to go in depth on what happened in the league this week?
No. I've had
We're
plenty.
all dying to know what happened behind the curtain.
I've had plenty of that situation. Glad it's behind us.
So, are you saying that Ian is out of the woods now?
Oh, my
Guys,
What an
We didn't-
idiot!
What an idiot.
Too soon,
didn't-
Mike. Too soon.
yeah, too soon. Too soon. What I love is we didn't plan that. That wasn't scripted. That was all Tank Top Mike. So.
Yes. Gold.
All right, guys. Well, thanks everyone who voted, which was pretty much everyone. And that was fun. We'll do it again next year. We got a tradition now.
Yes.
All right.
If you guys for next year have people that you want to nominate and just not leave it up to us and the champion, which is going to be one of us. So next year it's only going to be 3 of us on this show, so that's going to be really crappy. But if you guys want to nominate somebody by the end of our championship and the Super Bowl is a great time to throw people out there to us. We're always looking for input from the league. This show is for you, like we always say. So if you guys have people next year that you want to nominate, throw them at us.
I think I thought about that too. That we give everybody a chance to vote on nominations, and then just see what names come up often, and see if we can come up with a consensus for. That'd be pretty cool. All right,
Mark.
we're gonna move on to a trade. Hey, we had a trade. It's been pretty quiet. We had a trade today, though. We had 2 trades, but we're not going to talk about one of them. I still think they do that stuff just to try to get my blood pressure up. Guys are trying to knock me off.
I think there's something to do with waivers over the week, wasn't there, Commissioner?
What's that? About waivers?
Was there a waiver incident or a IR incident where a guy got? Never mind.
He tried. Nah. Yeah, I told you we don't want to. We that's enough is enough on that. So let's move on to the one real trade that we'll talk about today. That was between the Underdogs and FNG. So the Underdogs received Daniel Jones, pick 13 in the 2022 draft, and a 2023 second rounder. FNG received Marcus Mariota, Miles Sanders, pick 25 in the 2022 draft, and a 2024 fifth rounder. Sean, I'm going to let you start off. I know you were running the numbers earlier.
So I was running some numbers on a couple different, I won't mention them, but on one of them it was pretty lopsided one way, but the other one was dead on. So that just tells you how accurate these things are comparative to each other. But I actually like it for both teams. FNG gets a couple picks and Miles Sanders, which if they do what they did best last year going into next year, which is running the ball, hopefully Miles Sanders has a better year. And I like the adding of the pick in 23 for the DBs. They'll have 4 picks in the first 2 rounds.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been trying to wrap my head around what I think about this trade, and to me, I like it for both of them. I like what the new guy's trying to do with Mariota. There's been a lot of talk about whether he'll be a starter again in the league, and looking at the number of quarterback needy teams and looking at the draft for quarterbacks this year, very possible that he'll be able to at least compete for a starting job somewhere. So that could potentially be much like Jameis Winston kind of taking some time to learn and coming back to a starting role. That could be something. Miles Sanders, for me, it's always been a challenge and frustrating to play Philadelphia running backs lately, just because it seems like I picked up a guy off of waivers that picked up a lot of vulture touchdowns last year. But, he's a solid running back. I think, I look at this as a trade of potential. And obviously the DBs like their draft picks, so they're getting something. I think kind of an upgrade on the draft pick level. So I think both of them were just trying to take a shot at what they thought might have the highest upside to see where it panned out. So if it works out, great.
Yeah, that was sort of my first thought was we're gonna have to wait at least, potentially anyway, 10 weeks into this season, maybe into next season to see what really happens with like Mariota and Danny Dimes. But yeah, this is one that on paper it looks like it's a potential trade on what could happen, and we'll kind of have to see how this one goes. It's tough to figure this one out and see who proclaim a winner for me in the off season right now, but. Yeah, I think, and if I had to, I'd probably say I prefer the draft capital that the underdogs picked up on this one. But they do draft well. But F&G had enough to throw around. Obviously, the running back depth with Sanders is always nice to have. But again, we'll see what Philly does. So yeah, I think we'll revisit this one at the end of the season, see who wins.
Yeah, for me, I like Miles Sanders better than anything that we know right now on the other side. I think I like Miles Sanders better than what I think can be there at pick 13. There may be somebody dropped there that would be of equal or greater value. The 2023, if it's a higher pick, that second rounder, that could be something better than Sanders. So I kind of just narrowed it down to I like Sanders better than what they got on the other side. It's sort of like a quarterback is a flyer for a flyer. They're betting on Jones to take a step up with the new coaching staff. And yeah, what you said about Mariota there, Aaron, he could be a starter. He he had some success. It just it just didn't work out the way they thought it was going to work out for him. I don't think he ran as much as they thought he was going to. So as he healed up from the little nagging injuries he had, and can he get back to being somebody that's a dual threat quarterback? That remains to be seen. But not a bad flyer to take. So yeah, that's the way I look at this one right now. It's sort of I think the prize is Sanders for now. You guys are definitely right though. There's a lot to be unpacked here in the future to see what we think about this trade later on. So
Well, giving it a little more thought about this trade, Miles Sanders is one person where the max point per game is anywhere between 12 and 17 points, maybe. With those second round picks, they could potentially get wide receivers that could do 10 plus points in their flex spots, and they'd be benefiting overall. The reason that they had so much trouble last year is because, well, CMC went down, obviously. So moving the Miles Sanders is questionable, but their wide receivers did not live up to any of the hype that we had behind them. So gaining a wide receiver this year and a wide receiver next year, right around that second round, it could work out for them in the long run.
yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. I just this year pick 13. I I I think for this year's impact, Sanders would be better than whatever they get there at pick 13. But we'll have to see who drops there, who falls there. And like you said, Mike, they do a good job normally in who they draft. So they're definitely going to get value there, I'm sure. But is it going to be anything more than what Sanders can do for FNG this year? So good trade though. It's a good one for both teams. I agree with that. All righty, we're going to move on to some quarterback talk to finish out the show. So a lot of talk about different quarterbacks going to different teams. We're looking at see what's going to happen with the shuffle in the NFL this year at quarterback position. So we thought we'd discuss that to close out. We're going to start out with Aaron Rodgers, and we're going to talk about him specifically going to Denver and what that might mean, what the possibilities are, and all of that. So, Mike, why don't you start us off on this one? I saw that look. Do you want to pass?
Yeah, I think, man, thinking about Rodgers going to a team like Denver is the fantasy implications across really both those teams is nuts. I mean, you talk about if Devontae Adams wants to come with him, obviously then, or Green Bay is going to want a wide receiver back. Are they going to want Judy? Are they going to want Sutton? They all three of their top receivers in Denver are signed for a while. They just extended Patrick. They just extended Sutton. Judy just got signed. So that'd be interesting. Does Adams just get left alone in Denver or in Green Bay on the franchise tag with Jordan Love thrown to him? Like the whole thing is, I think, in my opinion, the most interesting one to think about. As a Sutton owner, I hope that Judy leaves. You can bring Adams, bring in Rodgers. I'm all for it.
I think that came out today that said, did it say that Adams was not in talks with Green Bay right now? Is that what I saw today? Anybody else see that?
Yeah, I thought that they weren't saying too much yet.
Yeah. So yeah, that's
the last thing I heard was that it was pretty clear that they were going to tag him, and then try to get a deal done, and then if they get a deal done, try to move him.
You would think, it's been a kind of a rocky relationship there. You would think that if they had a chance to screw Aaron Rodgers if he leaves, that they would. So, yeah, maybe franchise Devontae just so he can't go with Rodgers, just to stick it to him. What do you think, Aaron?
I think there's a lot at play here. Obviously Green Bay isn't going to go away quietly with this. Obviously they want to try to make it work. I don't know if they can. I don't think they have the salary cap to make it work. But they're going to use every tool at their disposal. I'm sure they're going to try to tag Adams and try to, get something in return for him. I don't know how that's going to work. That's obviously going to strain the relationship. To me, I'm still trying to wrap my head around the appeal of Denver. And I get it. The running backs are great. Obviously, there'd be, if they can bring over Adams and, keep either Sutton or Judy, two great receivers. They have a great overall team, but they're in a division where who are the quarterbacks they're competing against? Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, Derek Carr. Why would, at this point in his career, I just don't see why Aaron Rodgers would want to have that level of competition in one of the strongest divisions in the AFC to try to get to the playoffs. I can't wrap my head around it. I know, there's been a lot of talk about it, but I'm still trying to figure out why, it would make sense for Aaron Rodgers at this point in his career. I just think if anything, he'd want an easier path to the playoffs and not have to get beat up by some really good teams in the division. But, I've been wrong before.
Oh, Nathaniel Hackett's the head coach now, came from Green Bay. Justin Outten is the offensive coordinator. So, if they wanted to bring in their guy to run their system, that would make a lot of sense to me. And maybe Aaron goes there for the familiarity, So to me, that's the biggest thing. That would be a draw there. And they, they've got a good defense there. I think a lot of us would agree that Denver's probably a good quarterback away from being able to compete in that division and maybe make a run,
Yeah.
So, and got the weapons there. He's got multiple weapons there. It'd be interesting to me. They've talked about Devontae Adams reuniting with Carr. How cool would it be if he's playing against Aaron Rodgers now? For the Las Vegas Raiders and he's on Denver. That'd be pretty interesting.
Just there's so many moving parts there. And you really kind of have to see, how Green Bay plays their cards and how some of these other teams play their cards. There's going to be some desperate teams out there looking for quarterbacks this year. And I don't know what the formula is, but, whichever team, if a team takes Aaron Rodgers away from Green Bay, they're really going to have to put together the absolute perfect scenario for him. So, Denver may have it with the coaching staff, but it's going to take a lot of moving parts to make it work, I think.
I think he leaves because he has to complete the Brett Favre arc. So the one Super Bowl in Green Bay, and then you leave after a while.
Maybe the Vikings are looking for a quarterback. We'll see what happens.
Deja vu. Yeah. If he goes to the Vikings.
Yeah, Kirk Cousins goes anywhere else. Yeah, and he comes in.
You were going to add something there, Sean?
I totally forgot the Minnesota Vikings thing threw me for a loop. I think that's hilarious. But
Well,
Brett Favre mark.
Oh, I guess yeah. Isn't Kirk? We were talking Kirk to Indianapolis, and then bam, there you go. Rogers to Denver, or Rogers to Minnesota.
Rogers in Minnesota.
I really want Rogers to go to Denver.
Wouldn't
I
that be a
would
fun?
love Rodgers to go to Minnesota. Let's just put that out there in the cosmos.
Wouldn't that be a fun way for Rogers to stick it back to them? So, franchise Devontae, I'll show you.
I'll get a younger, better Adams.
Yeah, to me, you know, what I'm struck by the most is we were talking about this last year too, and he ended up staying there. So, I wonder how it's all going to play out, and will he just be right back there in Green Bay again? And this is all a bunch of off-season talk, cannon fodder for the writers.
I have feelings about Aaron Rodgers, but I think he just really likes the attention on him. Not saying that he's seeking, but if it so happens that his actions lead into the attention being on him, he doesn't mind it.
Yeah, that's very true. Very true. Didn't he do some crazy stuff with his, I don't know which one, Instagram or something, where, I don't know, a lot of people tuned in and there wasn't nothing to it, that kind of thing. And I saw a lot of tweets just saying, I think Aaron Rodgers just likes the attention.
Yeah, he posted 2 pictures on his Instagram. One was like Adams, him, and then Randall Cobb for the national anthem. And the next picture was without Aaron Rodgers in the middle.
Yeah. And he did something where he thanked a lot of people, like he was giving a speech for winning an ESPY or something, and a lot of people read into that too. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. It's fun to think about him in Denver with all those weapons. Although they've said that if he goes there, that Judy goes. But maybe they're bringing Devontae. So, but even so, he's going to have a lot of weapons there. And that's not even counting. We haven't talked about Javonte, and if Melvin Gordon stays, those guys can catch the ball, and he'd have his pass catching back too. So.
And his pick of which tight end he wants to throw to.
Fant or Alberto, yes sir, yeah, definitely.
Golly.
It'd be interesting to see him spread the ball around because we haven't seen that in recent years. So. Well, let's move on. We're going to talk next about Russell Wilson and the possibility of him going to Philadelphia. Let Aaron start us off on that one.
Yeah, so I know this has kind of, become a more recent conversation. Russell Wilson's probably one of the more underappreciated quarterbacks in the league, and obviously I've seen him in Seattle and in division for the past how many ever years. I don't understand the knock on the guy. I really have no idea. He's one of the few mobile quarterbacks who's been durable and be able to hold up against injury. Obviously he had injuries this past season, but that was the first time really in his career. And all he does is win football games. I don't know where the disconnect is with Seattle, but to me, the challenge, looking at some of the quarterback teams or teams that need quarterbacks that would be interested in them, this isn't a good, strong quarterback draft. So Seattle is going to want somebody they can start in return. And I think that's where this Eagles idea came from, because Jalen Hurts, is probably, obviously not on the same level as Russell Wilson, but if you're looking for somebody that can run a similar style offense in a similar way, that's a great, young player that you can get in return. And Philly obviously is trying to go for, increasing their wins, getting further in the playoffs, everything like that. So I definitely see where it makes sense for Philly. Especially in that division where now there's 3 teams in that division that are looking for quarterbacks. Dak is really the only solid quarterback right now, and obviously they want to compete with the Cowboys for the division title. So I haven't looked at the financials of it, but I think the compensation piece, I could see that Seattle may want more of a strong player in return than having picks in a weak draft, a weak quarterback draft, I should say. So, I understand it.
I could almost get on board with an argument that Jalen Hurts is just a really, really young Russell Wilson. Uh, Maybe not without the arm. Jalen Hurts might not have Russell Wilson's arm when he was younger, but I could see where Seattle would be okay with accepting that trade. I mean, obviously they'd still have to give up a bunch to uh, Philadelphia would still have to give up a bunch other than Jalen Hurts, and that would be interesting what those picks would be, what those pieces would be. But yeah, I could definitely get on board with that. As a excuse me, as someone that has a few stock members in Philadelphia, I think my Devontae Smith stock would go through the roof if Russell Wilson came on board, and my Goddard stock would look pretty darn nice too. So I'm all for it. Also,
This one is interesting for me. I think you kind of made some good points with the comparison to Jalen Hurts, but I think Mark, you kind of hinted that we talked about this with Rodgers last year, and I feel like this comes up with Russell Wilson way more than anybody else. I feel like every year they do well. They had a really bad year, but they do okay. They don't make the playoffs, and then it's Russell Wilson's got to go. Everybody hates him, and then he just sticks around. And I feel like it's just the same thing again this year. Um, I don't think he goes anywhere. I think he ends up just staying in Seattle, and I think that they work through whatever issues they actually do have. It seems to me like some of the issues are he just wants a little bit more say in the team, which I don't agree with players having that much say, but a ton like they want. I mean, the dude's not like Peyton Manning who could run the team if he felt like it, but you can give him a little bit more, make him happy. He's a good player. I think Aaron, you made some of the best points about him. The dude is underrated in a lot of ways. Um, he just wins. He kind of gives me the willies with some of that miracle bubble water that he sells, but but the dude wins football games, and I don't think Seattle lets him go anywhere.
Well, Philly does have 3 first-round picks this year, and if they wanted to send Hurts and maybe a couple of those picks, they could easily get it done, and they would probably be instantly a contender and maybe even a favorite for that division. Dallas maybe right now, but we put Russell Wilson on that team with a good offensive line, good running game. Um, Devonta Smith, does he bring Rager back from the dead? Goddard for sure, and a good defense, underrated defense, kind of under the radar, good defense because they had to play. They were on the field so much last year because they couldn't control the ball till later in the year. They got into the playoffs by running the ball and playing good defense. And I think if you were paying attention, you saw that they definitely have a good defense there. Slay is one of the best in the game right now, So yeah, if they wanted to make that move, they could instantly contend. So I kind of feel like you do, Mike, that it's some of Wilson maybe wanting to be out of there, but does Seattle finally say, hey, yeah, maybe let's trade away our best asset and try to rebuild and reboot a little bit this year? Because they've got a lot of holes on that team. They definitely kind of need to. I think they need to look at maybe retooling, rebuilding a little bit. So that would be a good team for them to trade with those 3 first rounders. They could probably get 2 of them and Hurts, and start rebuilding and looking for the future a little bit better. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And another undervalued part of Russell Wilson is the way he works with young receivers to make sure they understand the offense and the way they make sure they understand the weekly game plans. He's very hard on the players around him to make sure they're working. They understand the X's and the O's. They understand their job week in and week out. And you see like a Jalen Rager that probably didn't pan out to what he thought he would be. Justin Jefferson was drafted after him, so obviously didn't pan out to what was expected. maybe he can bring him back into consideration as one of the better receivers. But I'm curious to see what happens because there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff here. I think Russell just doesn't feel appreciated by Seattle anymore, and that may have a big impact on how this all plays out.
Well, just to add on to your original point, this is not the first time he's felt like this too. So there's a fire and somebody blew some gasoline on it again this offseason. So
Yeah, and to me, if he doesn't want to be there and Seattle can get enough out of it, then maybe they finally do make the move this season. So we'll see. All right, we're going to move on to some Deshaun Watson talk. This one's an interesting one because there's tons of teams that would love to have him, and not everybody has the cap to pay $35 million. So, but there are some that can, and he's expressed some interest. So we're just going to kind of roundtable this one. There's a lot to talk about. Sean, do you want to start us off on some of these points here?
well, as the inaugural person that drafted Deshaun Watson, that draft NAO, I do think he has lots and lots of skills, and he is a proven quarterback that had a whole year off, that has not taken hits, that has done nothing football wise, it seems like, besides maybe practice with Houston a little bit as like the backup of the backup.
He played defense for a while.
Wait, what?
That's right. That's right. Would they have him at cornerback or was it safety or yeah?
I guess he played some quarterback or safety. All right. What you learn on the NAO show? I think all these teams there's a plethora of teams that would want him, like you were saying, Mark. If Deshaun Watson gets put on one of these teams and is allowed to play football, that team is automatically steps better because we're looking at teams like the Seahawks if they lose Russ, the Colts. Duh. I think if he goes to the Colts, that'd be really fun to watch. And there's a bunch of other teams that are looking to get him. I think it's going to be interesting because of the no trade clause that Deshaun has in his contract. So he gets to pick where he goes, and then the team that's getting him has to give up a boatload to get him. I mean, he's going to be 27, but he's only played. He hasn't played last year, so he doesn't have those hits on his body. I mean, that's perfect. And you know what you're getting. That's the good thing about the team that's given up so much. You know exactly what you're getting.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, so the way I look at Watson, obviously, like the legal stuff is probably concerning for some teams. So I look at it in two perspectives. One, a team that is literally a quarterback away from being a serious contender, because then you can justify bringing him on and taking the risk with everything going on off the field and everything that went on last year. He may not be the first choice for some of these teams. We talk about Denver, for example. You know, Denver was in the conversation for him last offseason, and it just never panned out. And, you know, obviously, I'm sure Aaron Rodgers is probably their first objective. But if they don't get Aaron Rodgers, you know, is Watson somebody they look at? I don't know if they have the draft capital to make it work or not. But, you know, I feel like he's going to be like, if we don't get the main guy we're looking for, this is the guy we want to bring in. You know, does Indy make a play on him? You know, because they're probably a good quarterback away with every other weapon that they have. I feel like the Giants are probably the ones that want him the most if they can't get Russell Wilson. But Dave Gettleman just threw their salary cap into a dumpster fire and, like, you know, poured gasoline on it. So like I don't know what they can do. I was looking to see if they could cut or trade anyone to get out of their cap hell, and they owe $23 million in dead cap to Kenny Galladay. So that just gives you an idea of what their cap situation looks like for the next few years.
That's my guy.
So I was gonna say that, you know, the Giants, because they have the picks, the Giants should make a play for either Russ or Watson, but I just don't think they can make it work. And you know, Philly, if Philly can't get Russell Wilson, would they be interested in bringing Watson? And you know, they may be in a good spot where they could make it work. So I do see that it's a team that probably is ready to win, and obviously, I mean, he's going to elevate the quarterback room considerably, but he may not be the first choice just because there's a lot of risk there. And if you're staking your job on it working out, you know, maybe that's not my first choice. But if it's better, you know, if I swing and miss on some of the other options out there, hey, I mean, that's a pretty good consolation prize. So I'm curious to see how it all plays out.
Yeah, I think I've kind of thought about it as who would actually want to take on a guy like Watson with everything going on, and I think I'm gonna go on the record here, just like Sean is. I'm going on the record. My take is the Colts. I think they're gonna take some wild swing at this. The last few weeks, you know, Irsay's been saying he doesn't really like Wentz. That didn't go well for them, and they're a quarterback away. Their defense is great. JT got some NAO votes. Michael Pittman got right in NAO votes. You know, their offense is looking pretty good. Like I said, defense is, you know, one of the best. They can make a swing for it. Irsay said that he'll spend money on a quarterback because he knows that that's all they need, and he's not a very savory fellow himself. So, you know, I don't think he's going to shy too much away from Watson in a lot of that stuff.
They probably share lawyers.
Yeah, they definitely. So I think if I had to take a guess on where Watson is probably going to or could end up, that would be my first guess. Yeah, I think New York would be fun, you know, just with that offense. And I think that's a better team fit than Indy. I know maybe they ran the ball so much because Wentz is just terrible, but I think Philly fans would eat Watson alive, which would be pretty fun to watch, actually. He would get his own episode on It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia for sure.
I think any team that's even contemplating the possibility of adding Deshaun Watson to their team is going to do their due diligence legally once and then get a completely different team and do it again. Because they are not going to go all in on a guy like that without knowing every little aspect of his off the field issues, and then they're gonna make the best decision for their team. Like Avon was saying, like maybe he's not the first choice for all these teams, but darn if he is not the second choice if Rodgers stays in Green Bay. I mean, out of all these wide quarterbacks that are potentially moving, Rodgers, if he stays in Green Bay, he's number one quarterback out there right now. Russ is number 2. Watson's got to be number 3. Like, Jimmy G is not anywhere close to Deshaun Watson in this lifetime or the next, all right? So,
He has more playoff wins.
2 Super Bowl rings.
golly!
3 appearances.
That's right, man. That's right.
I think in a lot of ways the Texans are doing the NFL a favor. I don't know if there's something behind the scenes there where the NFL doesn't have to deal with it because the Texans are just not playing them, so they don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of truth in that tank top.
Here's the thing with not playing him. I think part of it, I just looked up his dead cap and how much he has remaining on his contract. It's north of $50 million in dead cap space if they were to release him. I can only imagine how much that gets guaranteed if he got injured last year. They're not going to risk it. You know, obviously, with everything going on behind the scenes, you know, an ACL tear would cost him a lot of money. So that probably factors into it.
For him to go to the Colts, I think the Colts would have to take on Wentz. So that's the big question there. Are they going to take on Wentz? Because, you know, Colts can't just get out of that. They still owe some money to him. And that makes it a little bit tricky for the Colts. But so if the Houston would take him off their hands, they could probably make it work. But that's the big question mark for the Colts.
Bill O'Brien's not there, so
I'm sorry?
Bill O'Brien's not there, so they can't make just a great trade.
I'm interested in the Steelers as a dark horse because they're close to having the cap space, and Watson talked about wanting to play under Flores. Flores is there with him now. He's not offensive coach; he's a defensive coach. But but he's there. He expressed some interest in playing with him as a coach. So Steelers could make a few moves and maybe get cap space to make it happen. The last one that I think is interesting, and we didn't even mention it. Watson did say that he was interested in the Jets, Dolphins, and Carolina. None of those really seem to. He says he's interested in them, but none of those really seem to make a lot of sense. Carolina doesn't have the cap space, and Jets and Dolphins have their young quarterbacks who are supposed to be their franchise guys.
I think that was a lot of what into that list, like a lot of the mindset behind those lists. He picked a bunch of teams that weren't going to trade for him anyways. So.
Maybe so. One other one I'll mention that would be interesting is that the Vikings have expressed interest. They're over the cap right now, but they owe Cousins $45 million. If they could send Cousins to Houston and bring on Deshaun, they could save what they're over on the cap. They'd need to clear up about another $5 million, which is probably pretty easy to do. So that would be an interesting one if they could send Cousins to Houston and bring Deshaun on there. That'd be fun to see.
I'm not saying that I wouldn't like that.
All right. Well, we're going to talk about one more quarterback, and we're going to get out of here. In honor of our esteemed guest, we're going to talk about.
Champion.
We're going to talk. Yeah, the champ. We're going to talk about Jimmy G. Probably didn't expect that tonight when we talked about the top quarterbacks moving, but we're going to talk about Jimmy G because this man has a lot of knowledge. So drop it on us if you would there, Evan, or Aaron, sorry. Evan.
Oh, no.
Wow. I will remember that.
I don't know why that came to mind. I don't know why I said Evan.
No, it's fine. But no, so Jimmy G's kind of interesting, right? Obviously, he has some playoff wins. He's been in a position where he's been in the Super Bowl, but obviously has some mechanical flaws. And I think I don't know if it's necessarily flaws. I think he just plays scared. He has a hesitation before he throws the ball and he misses the window. I've seen it time in and time out where he throws picks because he was 2 seconds too late. And I think he also got a little scared to run after he got injured in Kansas City back in like 2018. So he takes a lot of sacks that he doesn't necessarily need to take. And I don't know if it's coachable or not. I think Kyle Shanahan just like, well, I'll just coach around it. But if there's a quarterback, like a strong quarterback coach out there that's willing to try to fix some of those mechanical and psychological things, he's got the talent. We've seen it. He obviously is winning games for a reason. And I do think there's a place for him in the league. I think he's better than some of the starters out there for sure. But he's not going to blow you away with 5 touchdowns and 400 yards every game. But he could be a good gap quarterback, that'll stop the bleeding in some situations. And the other appealing thing about him is the salary cap situation. So when San Francisco signed him to that extension after they traded for him, they front loaded the hell out of that contract because they had the cap space at the time, and they wanted to leave flexibility in there in case it didn't work out, where they could make a move around now. I think it's only like $2 or $3 million in dead cap space, compared to some of these other quarterbacks that have these massive contracts and guarantees remaining. So a team could really take him on with low risk and not have to invest a lot of money into him like they would on some of these other quarterbacks. And if he pans out, great. They sign him to a great extension and everybody's happy. And if he doesn't, they lose nothing. So really it's just giving up, a matter of picks or players or whatever the compensation package looks like. But I think when you look at like low risk, high reward potential, he's one of the better quarterbacks on the list because they don't have to invest a lot in him like they do Watson. And if it works out, great. If not, nobody's going to lose their job over a couple picks, trying to take a playoff winning quarterback and improve their team. So I think for that reason, and I don't know who the answer is, maybe Cleveland. There's a few teams on there, maybe Washington. I know he's been linked to Washington. But I feel like there's a couple situations where he's probably better than what they've got, and it's a low risk if it doesn't work out. So I think there's definitely a market for him. I'm just curious as to kind of how it all plays out. But yeah, there's definitely some potential there.
Well, I can't add literally anything of value after the. All I know is Adam Schefter said that he might stay in San Francisco for one more year, so that's not going to happen.
So Jimmy G is leaving San Francisco. That's what we all know for sure. I think Cleveland threw me for a freaking loop. I didn't even have them on my radar. I was thinking Denver. I was thinking Indianapolis. Maybe even Philadelphia. I mean, moving, but then they would have Hurts and Jimmy G because San Fran don't want Hurts. They got Lance. They want to cut money at the backup position and be able to pay some of these defensive guys or other guys coming up on contracts. So I think it'd be fun to see him go to Indianapolis because he just wouldn't have to do much. You know what I mean? Like he could be an above average quarterback, which he is, and do well and wouldn't hurt the team all that much, or wouldn't have enough opportunities to really hurt the team. You know what I mean? They're gonna run the ball a lot if they made a move like that, and then they just maybe hit 3 or 4 really good throws and don't lose the game. You know what I mean? I think Indianapolis is coming off the top of my head as a really good spot. I think Carolina could be a really cool spot for him also, but he would have to do a lot more work in Carolina, especially with our whole division kind of in rebuild right now. Tampa Bay has a bunch of questions we need to figure out. The Saints, the Saints are gonna go and default and get slapped by the freaking federal government. It seems like with all their debt right now, and the Falcons are just kind of womp womp as it is. But yeah, I think Indianapolis or Carolina would be my picks for Jimmy G moving forward.
Yeah, those are both good ones. I think Steelers, Washington, those are all teams that have good core, good defense. A lot of those teams are run first. That's the kind of system that Jimmy G could fit into, where run first, good defense. He doesn't have to win you games. He just has to not lose you games, kind of thing. I kind of feel like he'll be the guy when all the dust settles. He'll probably end up being somebody's consolation prize. He won't be sought after right away, but when other teams are out on some of the top guys and can't make the other deals, they'll be like, well, Jimmy G's better than we have. You mentioned Carolina, Washington, Steelers, Colts, all those teams, man. You'd have to say that Jimmy G's an upgrade over what they have and could definitely help them win some games. So
Yeah, I mean, it's curious to see how it all plays out. And I know selfishly as a Niners fan, I'd love to see the cap space for 22 reallocated to maybe some corners. I just, I don't think there's anything that Jimmy G did that Trey Lance can't do. I don't see it as a downgrade in any way. Obviously, he's still raw, he's still undeveloped. But we've seen some horrible interceptions out of Jimmy, and I just think in this offense, we're not going to develop him in anything more than what he is, and
right.
there may be somebody else out there that is willing to do that. So curious to see how it all plays out.
Yep.
The writing is on the wall, obviously. When they drafted Lance, we all knew Jimmy G's time was freaking all but done. Even he said going into the playoff game, this is gonna be probably my last game as a this could be potentially my last game as a 49ers. Blah blah. And to be honest, if Lance needs any quarterback help, your freaking head coach is a savant. I mean, he's a fantastic head coach. Any of these other teams would give their left arm for that guy. So it's a great, as a 49ers fan, I'm sure you are very happy with where you're sitting right now. Debo might get 900 touches next year, but hey, whatever gets into the playoffs, right?
And that's an interesting point for the Niners is we're supposed to sign him to an extension after that. Like, I don't know where the money's coming from, but we're going to have to find it. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting offseason just because it's rare that there's not like the draft this year. There's not as much fanfare about the quarterbacks coming out. Last year, there were 5
Yeah.
that everybody was talking about. And now there's maybe 2. And like, even those are kind of iffy. So we're finally starting to see the free agency market heat up with quarterbacks, which doesn't happen often. So I mean, it's exciting. It's a new perspective on strategizing to win, and obviously it works. Look at what happened with the Rams and trading for Stafford. I don't think anybody saw that until it happened,
Mike
but
did.
you can't say it was the wrong move.
Yeah.
So sometimes instead of building, you just take the pieces you need and put it all on the line for 1 year and hope for the best. Now, 2 years down the road, it may be horrible for them, but it worked this year.
Well, that's our show this week. Little recap. We did the 21 awards. Shout out to Cup, Chase, Cordell Patterson.
Yep.
Cordero Patterson. I always mess it up. And the love song of the year by Celine Dion. I will not hear that song and not think of Humpty drowning in the ocean. It'll be fantastic. It'll be absolutely fantastic. And we talked about some great quarterback conversations. And if you have never seen this show, there's one thing I really like to do at the end of every show, and that's say, Ian, you suck!